Hey, my debt-free divas, back again for another lesson on how we're working together to get our finances in ship shape for this rather scary year to come. The cost of living crisis is, of course, getting a little scary. Prices are going up, and we're looking just to get more value from the money that we're earning. We're looking to make our money just go further. Part of that is about being grown up, getting organized, and creating a budget that actually works for our family. This is our Debt-Free Diva budget planner. Inside is everything that you need to know in order to create a financial dream and break it down into the actual action steps that you need to do in order to get there. We're a great believer in that you should be able to create your own future, and that should be one of financial prosperity. By putting the hard work in now, you reap the absolutely fabulous future that is coming for you. But that's what today is about. Today, we're going to be working on the financial goals sheet. You need to know where you're going before you can create a plan of how to get there. There's no point just setting off creating a budget out of nowhere and then wondering why you're not getting the results you're looking for. Instead, what we're doing is we're looking at where we need to be, and we're reverse engineering that. We're making sure that we break it down into the logical day by day, week by week, month by month, paycheck by paycheck steps that we need to do so that every day we are getting one step closer to that financial future that we truly desire. This is my empty financial goal sheet. I'm in the process now of creating some new financial goals. We've had a rather expensive few weeks in our business and in my life, and we have spent a lot of money that I now need to go and make a plan to put back into my financial future. That means that we're going to be really drilling down, going back to first principles and creating a budget again from scratch, which is why I've invited you and, of course, the rest of our lovely debt-free divas, the most fabulous online community I think I've ever experienced. A group of women who are so sensible, so loving, so supportive, but take no bullshit at all. They really don't let us get away with anything. But we're back at first principles now, creating a brand new goal sheet because my situation, my financial situation has changed, and we now need to have some brand new goals. So our goals worksheet is broken into three. We've got short-term goals, mid-term goals, and the long-term goals. The first two, you can probably get your head around. The action steps for your long-term goals, you might not be apparent yet exactly what those are, but the secret is to at least get these two filled out in one day so that you've got a plan of exactly what you're doing tomorrow and the day after and the week after and the month after that. So I know that the first thing I need to get created in order to get myself back on a financial even keel is that I need a personal survival budget, a PSB, that balances. I know that the first thing I need to make sure is that I've got enough money coming in to cover the expenses that I have. But because I'm in a financial pinch point at the moment, I am really going to make sure that that personal survival budget is as low as I can possibly get. I don't want to be bringing any more money into my budget than I need to, because there's other things I want to do with that money to help me dig myself out of a hole. So nothing is off limits. The first thing I'm going to do in order to get a personal survival budget that balances is I'm going to look at last year's statements. The quickest way for me to identify what I'm going to need to spend this year is to look at what I spent last year. Really literally dragging out all of my bank statements, dumping them down onto the desk. And here they are. They are all here. This is last year's bank statements. And I'll go through them month by month, line by line, and I'm going to identify exactly what I spent and when. That's going to give me all the reference points that I need to create a budget rolling forward. because I'm on a personal survival budget, a bare bones budget, just above survival rate, I'm going to look at trim, trim, trim. So I'm going to look at each and every line of everything that I spent last year, and I'm going to think, can I get it cheaper? Can I do without it? Can I ditch it? Or can I replace it with something that is even better but takes less income to service? So I'm looking not at cutting everything out, but seeing if I can trim back everything. Am I paying for too much data on my mobile phone? Could I go down a plan? Are we paying too much for TV subscription services? Could I get rid of one? Could I get rid of two? Could I find a cheaper way of accessing these services? Can I just be more clever about how I spend my money? So it's not about having a life of deprivation, but it's about being really smart about how you choose to spend the money that you've worked hard for. And being able to trim, 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 slice the salami, taking little bits off each and every expenditure really does add up when you get to the end of the month. Now, how am I going to keep myself on track? Well, we are in quite a pickle. And my boys, who are 21 and 13, are completely with me that we are going to go scorched earth on this. We are going to go hard because we need to. There isn't really a choice. We don't know how much these bills are going to be rolling forward. And what we do know is that we've exhausted our cash reserves. So we are going to go scorched earth. So we are going to have a weekly audit. We're going to have a weekly budget meeting where we look at what we spent. We're going to look at whether or not we can trim it by being creative. And we're going to look at what we're planning on spending next week, because we just believe we can do that tighter on a week by week basis rather than a month by month basis. We want to make sure that we plug any of the gaps that we have in our budget immediately rather than wait to the end of the month or next month. So we've got nothing unexpected coming up. We just think that the more often we have these audits, the more accurate we can be with our budget. And the sooner we can get back on an even keel and then replace the money that we've taken out of our financial future. Because really what we have is done is we've spent today money that was set aside for us to spend in the future. We need to replace that. The next thing, the most important thing, once I have got a personal survival budget that balances, when I've got my expenditure down as low as I can get it, I'm going to take the difference between what is coming in income and what I'm spending out on my PSB, and all of that is getting diverted into my emergency fund. Now, this is just going to be a small baby emergency fund of just £1,000, because it's amazing. It's truly amazing how when you put an emergency fund together, suddenly the emergencies stop coming. When you don't have any money, that's when the washing machine breaks down, or the car has a disastrous MOT, or there's a sudden and unexpected expense that you need to stump up for. Somehow, when you're sitting on about £1,000, those emergencies, if they do come up, one, you've got the money set aside for them, and two, when they do come up, there's much less stress involved because there's money set aside for emergencies. So we're looking to build as fast as we possibly can an emergency fund. And for me, the 3 steps that I'm going to take immediately this week, that's what I'm doing in my short-term goal, is this week stuff, is I'm going to print myself off a tracker. Now, the good news is that I've created one for you that is in the back of the budget binder, little £25 bricks that you can tick off on your route to having £1,000 saved up as a baby emergency fund. Now, I know that £1,000 may not seem a lot to have behind you as an emergency fund, that you can think of much greater emergencies that would need money. But this is just a starter emergency fund. I'm not going to keep my emergency fund at £1,000 for very long. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to work as fast as I can to get that first £1,000 set aside in a separate account. And somewhere that I can't access it. I can't use my card in order to access it. I need to transfer it in before I can spend it out, just to give me some security. It's not enough security to stop me being anxious about my financial future, but it's enough of a backstop that if the washing machine goes, or the boiler breaks, or the shower needs replacing, or any of those unexpected things, I can go and get it fixed without it bringing down the whole budget pack of cards crumbling down around my feet. So it's just a starter emergency fund. In my midterm and my long-term goals, absolutely, I'm going to have much more money in that emergency fund. But at the moment, it's £1,000 as quickly as I can. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to get on what they commonly call beans and rice. And that means that this family is going to go scorched earth. We are not going to spend on anything that we possibly can get away with not spending if we can put the money into the emergency fund. And thankfully, my boys are 100% behind me. They know where the money went. They know that we need to replace it. And we will eat from our fridges and from our store cupboards. We will riddle around in the freezer. We will go and grow some greens to pad out our menu in the short term, but we are going to make sure that we don't have any waste and that we eat really cheaply. We are going to make sure that we walk rather than take the car so that we don't have to spend money on petrol. We are going to not replace clothes that are discarded unless we really need to, because our one and only target in the short term is to create a budget that balances and to fill this emergency fund. So in order to do that, of course, we are going to sell, sell, sell. We are going round our house and we are going to find as many of the little things that we quite like, but we could live without, and we are going to list them on Facebook Marketplace. It is more important for us now that we have pounds and pennies in our emergency fund than it is that we've got matching vases sitting either side of the fireplace. So we're going to go right through our house, top to tail, and we are going to sell anything that's not nailed down. It's more important to us that we have a secure financial future than it is to have some of these things around us. Now, we can always replace things if we discover that we really did need them. The reality is, generally, you don't. And it's a wonderful opportunity to think about decluttering, downsizing a little bit, or at least making sure there's less stuff that you need to clean on a weekly basis. So we are going to sell. I've got the Facebook account, but the boys are finding everything that they are happy to let go of as well. And we've got a central desk in our house where we are dumping the stuff that we're going to sell. And every time I go past it with my phone, I take another photograph and I list something. I probably won't be able to fill the whole £1,000 on selling things from my house, but every tenner, every fiver that gets thrown into our emergency fund jar is £5 or £10 closer to us hitting this first target of making sure that we've got a little bit of money behind us should the rainy days come. And of course, living in Scotland, I can guarantee you that the rainy days are going to come sooner or later. We are going to have an emergency, and you're going to be so happy that you have committed to creating your emergency fund. So as we are selling, the next short-term thing we are going to do, in fact, we are going to be doing that this weekend coming, is something that's called a household audit. Again, not something that costs you anything to do, but we're going to get into every drawer. We're going to get into every cupboard. We are going to go into every wardrobe. We are going to go to the bottom of the freezer, through the back of the store cupboard, and we are going to list everything that we have got as inventory in our house. Every tin of tomatoes, every jar of lentils, every pair of shoes, every bottle of washing up liquid. We're going to make sure that we create and add it onto a list. So the first thing I'm going to do, because the boys have asked me, is can I create the printables that we're going to need so that we can throw them on some clipboards at the weekend, and we can go and count how many bottles of shampoo have we got, When does that mean I need to buy shampoo again? How many bars of soap have I got? Do I need to buy any soap and toilet paper and kitchen roll and all of the things, so that I know exactly what I've got in stock, so that when I'm in this emergency short-term goal section, I don't have to spend a penny more than I need buying something that I may already possess at home. And most of us don't really have a great idea of everything that's sitting inside our house. By the end of this weekend, me and the boys, we are going to know exactly what we have got in stock in our inventory inside our house. And the goal for this year is going to be to use as much of that up as possible, because we've already bought these things. We don't have to spend any money. We're going to shop from our house. We're going to shop from our stores. We're going to create as many meals from what we have in stock as possible and make our money go in the direction that we've decided it's going to go in. And of course, in the short-term session, that means getting it into the emergency fund. Absolutely every penny is a captive. Every single pound that we can throw in there is us £1 closer to getting to that wonderful goal of £1,000 tucked away into an emergency fund. Midterm, so I'm looking a month to maybe 3 months. What do I want to achieve financially in the next quarter in this year? Well, what I want to do is I would like to fill my sinking funds. Sinking funds are nominal savings accounts, so not really separate savings accounts, but a list of where you can start saving for those annual expenses, for your car tax. If you have car tax of, say, £180, now bear in mind, I'm really old and I drive a really old car that's not worth very much. So £180 is my car tax for the year. But if I need to pay that car tax in 3 months, I know that that can't come out of my personal survival budget. I need to save that money separately. So I know that if I need £180 and I need to have that in 3 months, I need to be putting £60 in my budget for the next 3 months in order to stash that money away so that it's there when I need to spend it. And then, of course, I can reduce that amount by saying, I will set aside £180. I will set aside £15 or £20 every month rolling forwards to make sure that when I get to the year after, I've got that money in my account. So sinking funds are just the way that we save up for the occasional, regular, predictable expenses that we have throughout the year. Things like Christmas. Believe it or not, that happens on the 25th of December each and every year. They don't move it. It's always going to be there, and birthdays happen on the same day every year, and summer holidays come around with regular ferocity. You need to be able to save up for those things from your regular budget that balances, so that you're not caught unawares, so that you're not having to dip into a credit card, or you're not having to go and spend your emergency fund when it's not an emergency. It's just because you haven't predicted your spending rolling forward. So the first thing I need to do if I'm going to fill a sinking funds fund is I need to go and calculate the totals. I need to go and look at what are these periodic expenses that I know are coming up, things like my car tax and my car insurance and money for an MOT and money for Christmas and birthdays and, all of those kind of expenses, set an amount as a target for them and make sure that I create sinking fund accounts. And then there's a sheet later in the binder that will show you how to manage your sinking funds. But I know that I need to save for those regular, predictable, once a year expenses that come around. No point not planning for them. They are going to turn up. I like to automate it. So I like to make sure that every time I get paid, there's a certain amount goes over into my sinking funds. That way they never get forgotten. I'm never sitting on a pot of cash in my current account thinking, wow, I feel really affluent this week. It's because I haven't allocated all the money to my sinking funds. So I like to automate that. And I like to run my sinking funds in a separate account, a separate savings account, so that The money gets put in there automatically at every pay period. And then when the time comes for me to pay my car tax, or the time comes for me to pay my car insurance, I can transfer the money into my current account and pay for the bill without even breaking sweat. Oh, if you haven't explored creating sinking funds and managing your money in this way, you are in for such a revelation, because this takes all of the boom and bust, the feast and famine, cyclical nature of money, of managing your money, just completely out of there. Here's the thing. I believe that money should be boring. I believe that the things you do with money should be exciting. But I think the process of managing your money should take minutes, and it should be so predictable and boring. It's a complete snooze fest. You shouldn't be running on adrenaline looking at a bank account. I don't want you ever to go to the supermarket again with your credit card or your debit card and wondering if there's enough money in the account for you to buy groceries for your kids. Right? Never want to get there ever, ever, ever again. And part of the solution for this, a budget that balances and making sure that you're sinking funds. Now, I've got a midterm target for paying back the money that we've spent in the last couple of weeks. And that's a fairly arbitrary target. I've got 93,000 and some pennies that need to be paid back. So in the midterm, what I want to do is I want to get that account to below 90,000. Just so that I feel I'm getting some traction in paying that back. Now, I don't have any other debts. I've just got this one massive big debt. So I don't have lots of little debts all over the place, just this one humongous amount of money that needs to be paid back. So for me to get a little bit of traction on that is going to feel utterly fabulous. But it also gets me focused on repaying the debt that's there. That is my focus. But it's such a big amount. I'm not going to be able to live on a personal survival budget on complete scorched earth, beans and rice, rice and beans. And I'm not going to be able to live that tight for the whole duration of paying back all of this money. There needs to be a little bit of balance. So I'm going to set my midterm goal is just to get it below 90,000. When I'm going to do that, well, I'm going to step up with some side hustles. So there's some nice projects that I've been asked to manage on the side. There's some books and other products that I would like to go and create for myself and for my 9-to-5 business. Speaking of business, what I want to do is I want to increase my income. From my business. So although I'm working on a personal survival budget, and although what I want to do is I want to hold my lifestyle inflation, what I want to do is I want to increase my income, because if I increase my income, but I hold my lifestyle absolutely solid, so making the margin between the two, all of this extra money is what gets paid into paying down this account to get it below 90K. I'm sitting on an emergency fund. I'm happy with a personal survival budget that balances. I'm making sure I'm stashing the money that I need for these periodic but predictable expenses, and every other penny is getting thrown into making sure that this account gets below £90,000 as quickly as possible. At that point, I'm going to have a small breather, only in that I'm going to stay on my personal survival budget, and I'm then going to divert money into a 3 to 6 months emergency fund. I know that it's not possible for me to run out 4, 5, 6 years on an emergency fund that is only £1,000. I run my own business. I have got 2 young men in the house with me. I am dependent on earning what we spend. That's too risky a position for me to be in with only £1,000 as an emergency fund. So once I have got my account to below 90,000, a little bit of breathing space in there, I'm going to focus on filling my bank account with 3 to 6 months of living expenses. So 3 to 6 months times my personal survival budget, just to give me a bigger cushion so that I am set for the future. It's done, tick, I've got some security, and then I can really, really go scorched earth again on paying down the debt as fast as possible. So the first thing I need to do in the midterm is I need to go and calculate those totals. And I will know that in a month or two, if we've been doing weekly audits on our personal survival budget and we are filling our sinking funds in 2 or 3 months, I'm going to know exactly what my totals need to be in order for me to put away 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses as a proper emergency fund. I am going to create a separate account for that money. And I am going to make sure that it's not an account that I can just use my card. It's something I'm going to need to transfer money into my card so that it's really ring fenced as being an emergency fund. That is there for I lose a job, a contract goes bad, lockdown starts again, any of those big emergencies. You know, I have a bad back. If I need to go and have an operation, I need the money to be there to ensure that I can go and do my recuperation and my rehab. So I'm going to add that into my budget at that point as a separate line. Instead of putting my money into this account to get it below 90, I'm going to be putting it into this account until I've accrued 3 to 6 months worth of emergency funds. When it's done, fantastic. No more money needs to go into that bank account. I can get straight back in then to hammering down the rest of my debt. So at that point, I want to then pay back the residual 90K. My first target is to get to a net worth of 0. I want to owe nothing, which means paying back £90,000. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of money, and it is. It's a huge amount of money, but I have the ability to go and create multiple other revenue streams within my business that will bring money in. I just need to be more focused now at getting them, delivering them quick, and really sell. I need to sell so hard. I need to probably double or triple the income I'm taking from my business in order to pay back this 90,000 over the next 2 or 3 years. So I'm going to need to step up the coaches that I create in my business to 100 new coaches per year. So I'm going to need to attract those in. I'm arranging to do what's called a butterfly marketing funnel, which allows me to run affiliate marketing to my business, which helps me work with existing customers to give them a little bit of income in order for bringing me in leads. And I've got a business coaching side hustle, which is called 100 Days to 100K. And I'm going to bring in 100-day clients. And I'm going to look at doing 10 of those one-to-one over the next 2 or 3 years, because beyond the payback of the 90K, my next target will then be to pay off the mortgage, which beyond that 90K that gets paid back is only the matter of about £24,000. And then my last big goal is FIRE, financial independence, retire early. That's a big number. If you look at FIRE, if you go to YouTube and you look at what FIRE numbers are, FIRE number is how much money do you need to have in a bank account so that you can retire living off the income and never eating into the capital. And there's a short way to calculate that. That is, take your desired income and multiply it by 26. It's a big, big, big number. I can only get to financial independence, retire early, by taking all of these steps, by filling in what are my short-term, my medium-term, and my long-term goals, and then actually creating action steps in order to get me there. So in our household audit, I'm going to create the printables, which the boys have asked me. We're also going to have a one-day mega audit. Next Saturday, the boys and I are going to work together, and we are going to go from the top of the house to the bottom. We're going to fill in all of these printables. And the last thing is that I need to go and create a store cupboard menu. I want to create as many meals as we possibly can from things that we've already bought, so that we can spend as little on groceries as possible during the short-term period, because I need to be throwing as much money as I can into my baby emergency fund. And remember, my baby emergency fund is just going to be £1,000. That's all I'm going to stash away before I move on to my midterm goals. But I'm always going to be moving forward. This sheet is about creating really solid foundations for your financial future. It's not about driving things that are so tight that if something crops up, the whole pack of cards come crumbling down. You need a budget that balances, one that you can live on, one that has very little fat around it, one that has fairly few luxuries until you have your emergency fund in place and you're paying down your debts. But it's livable. It's basic, but it's livable, because the rest of your money is then being put to work for you, getting you out of debt, getting your emergency fund created so that you can go and you can live the life that you really, really want in the future, just by being a little bit weird here and now. Does anyone really care that you're going to be eating more pasta and rice and potatoes over these next few months than you are going to be eating fillet steak and expensive fish and organic eggs? No one cares. Well, no one except you and your Instagram account. But your bank account, oh, certainly, thank you. You can get your emergency fund there and funded by any means possible. We even discussed, would we sell the car in order to fill our emergency fund? We don't drive a lot. I mean, I think lockdown has shown us how little we do need to drive. Sadly, I am responsible for a few neighbors, elderly neighbors and things. And in the middle of the night, I'd like to think that I could just pop them in a car and take them to the hospital if needed. My car also, to be honest, it's not worth a lot. It's worth less than £1,000. I don't think at this moment we're in a position where we are that desperate. But I might be back here in a week or two going, do you know what? I've decided, because the most important thing I want done is I want to fill this emergency fund. I'm going to sell the car. Can always get another hoopty, another car, third hand, fourth hand, fifth hand car to roll on in the future. You can buy it for cash when I am down here and there's more money flapping around our budget. At the moment, I'm not going to do that because I don't have to do that just yet. It's tight. It's not quite tight that we can't eat. So now I've got my goals for the future. Starting from, I need a personal survival budget that balances, the tightest of tightest budget that I can create. And if I follow all of these steps through, I will eventually get to where the goal that I'm working on is my FIRE number, the big number of investments, cash in hand, that I want to have behind me and my family for our financial future. That means I'll be financially independent and I can retire early. But it all starts back at the very beginning, pulling out my bank statements and looking at what was spent last year. Trim all of those expenses and make sure that we schedule a weekly audit. Those are things that I can go and get organized right here, right now. It's not going to cost me a penny. And it's going to make me feel marvelous when I can come back and I can tick these things off my goals list, because I know that when I finished all of these tasks, I'm going to get exactly where I need to be, which is financially free and retired. It's a long way from here. Let's not beat about the bush here. You know, that's a lot of money that needs to be created and needs to be saved and needs to be invested for me to get here. But if I don't know where I'm heading, then I don't know where I need to start. And I know that if I want to end up here, I need to start off here. And that's where we're going to start off today. So your homework for today is to grab your financial goals sheet and then start filling out what are your short-term, your medium-term, and of course your long-term goals. Do you want to be mortgage-free? Do you want to be financially independent? Do you want to retire to Portugal, or do you want to buy a camper van and spend the time, you know, driving coast to coast in the United States? I don't know what your long-term goal is. Maybe you want to help pay for your kids to go through university debt-free, or you want to buy one of them a house, or you want to buy an intergenerational house, or there's lots of things that we talk about that we dream about. But dreams without deadlines, without tasks, just stay dreams. When you start committing them to paper, they become goals. I know that to get from the top of this page to the bottom of this page, I need to do all of these things, and probably need to do them for not this week, not this month, not this year, but probably a few years to come. But I know that if I start today and I continue tomorrow, then every day I'm one step closer to getting this debt paid off and to be living that financial future that I dream for me and my family. So your homework this weekend or tonight is to go and dream a little. I know things are hurting just now. Everyone's feeling the pinch, but we can dream of a better financial future for our families and for ourselves. And if we can dream it, we can come up with a goal and a set of tasks, a set of action steps of how we're going to move ourselves from being afraid of looking at the bank statement to being in total control of our financial future once again. So go print out the sheet, go get it filled out. And I would love to hear in the chat or in the group, if you're a member of our Debt-Free Divas community, I want to hear what you're dreaming of. I want to know what it is that you are chasing, because the clearer you are on where you're headed, the easier it's going to be to stick to the rest of this plan in the weeks, the months, and the years it's going to take for you to get there. But get there you will. There is no financial problem that cannot be solved with a plan written on paper and vigorously executed. How quick you will get there depends on how closely you stick to your plan. But to stick to your plan, you're going to need a plan, and you need your goals in order to come up with a plan. So please go dream a little, get it down on paper, and then let's get busy making sure that you start ticking away and finding a way to achieve each and everything that you've set as a goal on this sheet. So I will see you again soon for another way and another sheet from our Debt-Free Divas budget planner, getting you in control of your finances, one page, one task, one little piece of homework at a time. By the time this budget planner is completely filled out, you are going to be so in control of your financial future. It is going to make you grin every time you see this sitting on your desk. You're going to look forward to doing your finances instead of really getting worried every time there's a brown envelope comes through your door. So get busy, get it printed out. Today you are working on financial goals. Dream a little, get it down, work out what the action steps need to be. And if you don't know how to execute those action steps, get into the community and ask a question, because believe me, the Debt-Free Divas, they are a group of women who have been there. They have seen that. You might think that your financial challenge is one that no one's ever had in the past. And I can guarantee you that at least a dozen divas have been exactly where you are at some point in the past and can give you the easy way through the smart way through, the tweaks and the refinements that you need in order to get there with grace and with ease, like the debt-free diva that you are. See you next time. Bye.